Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Donna and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from the Northern Rivers area in New South Wales, Australia. I'm bringing you a beautiful, shiny, glimmery card using the Christmas Rose stamp set. Now the Christmas Rose stamp set is a suite that we have available for the month of November only. So this is an exclusive suite available just this month only. So I decided that I would do something a little bit different. One of my favorite colors at Christmas time is using our Blackberry Bliss with gold or silver. So I decided to do a bit of a blingy, glitzy card using some of the Blackberry Bliss and this beautiful stamp set. So we have the rose, which is a red rubber stamp, and that's the outline stamp that you can use for watercoloring. And you've seen, I've done some videos. If you haven't seen the videos on my channel, please, after this video, check and see the watercoloring video that I've done. Plus it's actually designed then with the photopolymer stamp set to line pieces up and color with your photopolymer stamp set. So it's a beautiful double stamp set that we have available for the month of November only. So I've actually mounted up my stamp on a large block, and I'm going to use some Versamark ink. Now our Versamark ink is a clear watermark ink, and it's designed to use with our embossing powder. So I'm just going to bring in a scrap piece of paper here. Trying to find a scrap piece of paper. And we will emboss the larger image. That's a scrap piece. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Blackberry Bliss layer here. I'm going to use my embossing buddy, and I'm going to rub my embossing buddy over my Blackberry Bliss piece of cardstock. Now that's to make sure that we've got no fingerprints on our cardstock whatsoever, because we don't want our embossing powder sticking to parts of our cardstock that have not been stamped with our image. So I'm just inking it up with my Versamark, and I'm just going to stamp in the corner like so. So I'm stamping off, as you can see, but I'm not sure whether you can see that on the video, but we have a watermark image there. So I'm going to do that 4 times around the card. So I'll stamp another one here. And I'm just going to turn it to make it easier for me to stamp. And I'm going to stamp in the other 2 corners as well. So I'm inking up every time with my Versamark ink. And stamping onto the corner. And the last one, I'm going to ink it up again with my Versamark ink. And we're going to stamp that in the corner there. Okay, so now you will see the magic when I pop my gold embossing powder on. You will see where, if you can't see it in the video, you will see where that beautiful Versamark ink has stamped our image on our piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to pop it on the top and then let it fall down over the rest of my card. And just shake off the excess. So as you can see, the gold embossing has stuck to the Versamark ink, clear Versamark ink. I'll just pop all that back into my container. And then I'll just bring in my heat tool, and we're going to heat emboss. Now, if you've never seen heat embossing, and this is the first time you've seen heat embossing, get ready for the wow factor, because it is the bomb of card making. So I hold my heat gun, so I've got 2 heat settings on my heat gun, and I've got it on full heat. I hold it underneath my cardstock, and you will see when I hold it underneath, when it heats up enough, there it goes. Look at that gold embossing taking shape. So what actually happens is the heat gun melts your embossing powder into your Versamark ink. So what you'll do is you'll see it will go bubbly and then it will go nice and smooth. When it goes nice and smooth, you know that you've heated it enough. And it's giving you that beautiful gold image. So we're just going to go all over. This will take a little while to heat emboss this gold image. But is that not, I never get tired of seeing it, never ever. It is such an exciting, fun thing to see. Okay, so we're going to heat that one. And be careful with your heat gun that you don't burn your fingers. That's why I'm holding it with a pair of tweezers here so that I can get right to the image and I don't have to worry about my fingers getting burnt. Now the reason I heat from the bottom, for one purpose, it doesn't blow our embossing powder away. And for the other thing, it will warp your card a little bit, but it will warp it bending down away from the front of the image. So when you go to adhere your image on the front of your card, it's not going to have corners that curl up when you go to stick it down onto your layers on the front of your card. Okay, so there we have the gorgeous, beautiful, heat embossed gold image. So as you can see, absolutely stunning. So now what we're going to do is we're going to let that cool off for a little bit, but we're going to bring in our Whisper White Craft ink, and it's a re-inker that I'm using, and I'm going to pop it onto just a clear block, just an old clear block. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this out onto my block. Okay, so we're going to get some Whisper White ink. Then we're going to take one of our aqua painters, and hopefully I've cleaned it. Yes, I have. So we're going to take one of our aqua painters. We're going to squeeze just a tiny little bit of water, just to get a bit of water happening, and we're going to get like a nice watery white wash here. So I'm actually going to bring in my scrap piece of paper. I'll turn it over the other way. So we're going to go over the flowered image. Now, don't panic about the embossed image and going over the embossing, because the embossing will resist the white ink quite a bit. So we're just going to lay some ink down on each flower. So we've got another bit of a flower here in the corner. Now I've seen this done quite a few times, and I had a bit of a play with it today with this. And the gorgeous part about it is when it dries, it gives a really nice light mauve shade to our flowers. So it actually contrasts really well with the flower. So I decided that I would go with it, and you will see in a minute how I add a little bit of difference in behind the flowers as well. So just a white water wash white look, and you'll see as it dries it's starting to go lighter. So then I'm just going to take more of that white and go back in over again. We're going to do a couple of layers because we want it to not be too translucent. So I'm going to do a couple of layers. Okay, so keep on turning it around and going over that gorgeous rose flower that we have. This one. And you can see it's drying pretty quickly. And this is our normal cardstock, just our normal Blackberry Bliss cardstock. So be careful not to have it too wet because it is normal cardstock. Okay. So we've layered those up twice, and I think that's going to be quite okay. Now I'm just going to take just a baby wipe, and I'm just going to blot on those just to take the excess off. And you'll see when you blot it that the embossing comes back through quite well. So we're just going to carefully blot that. Okay. To get off any excess water or any excess of the Whisper White ink. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little drop of our Blackberry Bliss re-inker, and we're just going to drop it just to the edge of our, just one drop, just to the edge of our Whisper White ink. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up some of that, and we're now going to do a little bit of shading on our rose. So I'm just going to go around the outside edges of the petals just to add a little bit of shading. So just picking up as we go, picking up a little bit of ink and popping that onto that gorgeous rose that we've colored. And that's just going to add a little bit of depth and a bit of shading to our flower. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a bit and then I'll move on to the next one. So a bit of shading on that outside edge. And you don't have to be really that particular with your shading. I'm just trying to get a bit of a two-toned look with my rose here. And we'll move on to the next one. Trying to pick up some of that darker. But this is a super fun technique. So if you don't have our Whisper White craft ink, you can do so much with this craft ink and some of your re-inkers. So it just adds a little bit of extra texture to your flower. We're just going to go over that a little bit more. And then blotting off once again with our baby wipe in case there's some excess on there. And just going to, it's a bit better. So now I'm just blending in those darker bits that we did and blotting once again with a baby wipe. And turning that around and blotting that one. I'm just going to add a little bit more of my Blackberry Bliss. I just want to get a bit of a darker shade on some of those petals. So just with my re-inker again, that's a bit better. So I'm just going back in on those edges. With a bit darker colour. And you'll see as it dries lighter again. With the white craft ink underneath, it soaks up that darker colour. Okay. And then back through once again with our baby wipe, just blotting any excess off there. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a gorgeous rose in beautiful mauve tones. So I'm just going to clean that up so I don't get that everywhere. Off there. Okay, so now I would put that aside to dry, and because I need it to dry, I've actually got another one that I've already done. So to finish off the card, I'll bring that one in. I just want to brush off my table to get some of that embossing powder off there. Okay, so I've got a gorgeous purple posy layer of cardstock for my base. Whoops. So I'm just going to fold that one in half like that. Okay. And I'm going to pop that aside. Now, I have a gorgeous gold foil layer that I'm going to layer that beautiful front layer onto. And I'm going to use double-sided tape for the simple fact that we have used heat embossing. And when I heat emboss, I like to be able to glue my layer down with some double-sided tape. A bit stronger glue than normal. I would normally use liquid Tombow, but because we've actually heat embossed and because it warps your cardstock a little bit, I like to use just double-sided tape in this situation. So we're just going to pop some double-sided tape on all 4 edges. So just like so. And I'm going to pop a little bit just in the middle as well, just to hold that. I'll take my pick tool and take the backings off. Now the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp a sentiment from one of the, from this stamp set onto, I'm going to heat emboss as well, just so it goes with the theme of the card. So I'm going to line that up on my gold embossed layer and glue that down. And I think that gold just brings out all that embossing. So I've got, this is one of the framelits out of the stamp set, and I've also, this is also a framelit out of the stamp set. So I've cut the framelit out of the Blackberry Bliss to go on. And we've also got this gorgeous gold trim that goes with it. So we're going to use some of that. So I'm going to grab the sentiment, May this Christmas, actually, yes, I think that will be the one I will use. May this Christmas fill your heart with warmth and love. That sounds quite nice. I'm going to grab a small block and pop that on. Okay, so with my embossing buddy, once again, I'm going to use my embossing buddy on there. Bring in that scrap piece of paper that we had, so we don't end up with embossing powder everywhere. We're going to ink that up with our Versamark ink once again, so our watermark ink. And because this is photopolymer, we'll be able to line this up on here and see through it so that we can line that up nice and straight. Okay. So, like so. And then we're going to grab our gold embossing powder again and pop some embossing powder over the front of that. And as you can see, the embossing powder has stuck to my Versamark ink. I'll pop that back into the container. And we'll bring in the heat gun again and we will heat emboss that layer. So once again, holding and heating from behind, waiting for that heat on heat setting number 2. There we have, look at that. Beautiful sentiment. There we are. Okay, so now we're ready to pop our card together. So we have our gorgeous layer here. I'll leave that over there to cool off. I'm going to, just with this gorgeous gold, I'm going to trim a piece off and I'm going to stick that with some double-sided tape on the back of my card in the middle. So one bit up here and one bit down here. And pull off the backing with your take your pick tool. Oh, just like so. Okay, so now I'm just going to line that ribbon up in the center of my card. So just like that and like that. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Okay, liquid Tombow on the back. There we go. Now, if you use your liquid Tombow over your double-sided tape, you'll have no worries being able to, I think I need some new Tombow. There it goes. No worries being able to layer that and move it, have that wiggle room with our Tombow because you've popped it over your double-sided tape. So we're just gonna hold that down nicely. Okay, so we're going to bring in some dimensionals and pop some dimensionals on the back of our sentiment. And on the back of that layer as well. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one on first. Only one thing about white craft ink, it gets everywhere. I've got it all over my hands everywhere. Okay, shows up on my black fingernails too. Okay, so I'm going to mount that in the middle of that label. Then take off the backings and we'll pop that onto our card. Okay, so we're going to pop that. I want to pop it over to the side so I can pop a gorgeous bow here in the corner. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to tie a really nice bow. Now, this is how I tie my bows. I make a loop, flip over, making sure that you don't twist the ribbon so the ribbon's still going all in the same direction, and then push a loop through that one. And then what you do is you slowly pull your tails and make your loops littler. You pull it till it gets a bit tighter, make the loops littler again. Pull it till it gets tighter. And then when you get your ribbon exactly where you think you want it, you hold on to the two tails in your fingers and pull. And that, as you can see, makes your tails hang down. So we'll trim that off. And we will pop that gorgeous bow on with some double-sided tape. Now, you can use glue dots. I like to use double-sided tape. I can straddle the double-sided tape across that ribbon that I have on there. Holds the ribbon in place, plus it will hold your bow really, really nicely and solid on your card. So stick it into the double-sided tape, just like that. And just to finish it off, I'm going to bring in some of these gorgeous glitter enamel dots that we have. And we will make some beautiful little, actually I'll use that. And I think I'm going to pop some down here too. Oh. And one more little one. So there you have a super, super cute card using our Whisper White Craft ink and our gorgeous gold embossing on Blackberry Bliss. So I'll bring that in again. That was our new Christmas rose. Now it's called Christmas Time Is Here Suite. It's available during the month of November only. So if you simply love this card and you think that you would fall in love with this stamp set, which I know you will, please don't be slow in getting in and purchasing, because this is available while stocks last. So if it sells out within the middle of November, it will be too late. You won't be able to purchase it again. So a special limited offer. So thank you very much. If this is the first time you've watched my YouTube channel, please feel free to hit the subscribe button down below in that bottom corner. Turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a video. And all of the supplies that I have used to create this gorgeous card today can be found in the Show More box down below. If you click directly on my online shop link, you can go and shop 24 hours, 7 days a week in my online store. If you're uncomfortable with ordering online and you live in Australia, please feel free to message me. I'd be happy to place your order over the phone as well. So I also have monthly stamps clubs. I also have 2-day craft retreats. There's one opening, one in March 2020. So if you live locally or you feel like traveling to the New South Wales area in Australia to come and do a 2-day craft retreat with me, there's a link below in the information as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.